Hello, this is Debbie McAllister, and this is Light Up Your Worth. I'm so excited that you're here today. This is a solo episode. I thought I'd come in today and just share a few things about what's happening, and I wanted to talk about tenacity. um, I had to um, gather my thoughts around tenacity as I'm going through a lot of transition again, continuously, right? It feels like since I've started the podcast, and I've been examining different parts of my life, and one of the ongoing themes that has to do with tenacity. And so I thought, well, how does tenacity and spirituality like blend together as you go through different parts in life? So as I record this early October, I am getting ready to move. Now, I moved it to Flagstaff at the end of April. I took a new corporate job here in healthcare, and I've been living in this really beautiful home with some really beautiful people. But what I've realized is that I need to go back to having my own space for multiple of reasons. One of them is that I like to have privacy for when I do my podcast episode recording, and I've realized that it impacts my ability to stay in flow for the creativity that comes through. And so, though this has been a beautiful stopping point for 5 months, it's time for me to now move along. I had just had the moving company show up with my belongings 3 weeks ago. So, I am packing what I just packed up. And following my own inner guidance to what I need to do instead of waiting. I had an opportunity, I'd put it out there to the universe in one of my meditations about my situation because it's not a bad situation, but I thought, well, if something could pop up that would fit what I need right now, then I'm going to go ahead and take it. And would you know that universe always sends you the right messages when you're looking for them. When you've put the request out, what I've have found to be true for myself is that if I stay in my own groundedness, my own energy, if I do myself practicing care of listening. And so in my meditation, I had put out there, well, if something happens that would be ideal for me, then that's what's gonna move me forward. And so that's what I did. And it felt a little crazy. Sometimes our mind comes around and it wants to jump in and interfere with what that flow could be. And I decided, no, I am going to stay true to who I am and what I need and listen to myself. And so that's what I'm doing. So this upcoming Sunday, I'm moving. I'm going to be without internet. I'm moving into my own space in a really private studio in a really gorgeous part of town here in Flagstaff with, more forest access. And me and Lily, the dog, are just gonna just go for it and stay in focus. The other things I've been doing is I've recently invested in I am in a business course that's called Road Entrepreneur with Kimberly Crossland. And it has just been so beautiful to dig further into how I show up for you, the listeners, and how I can bring on new guests that really help you on your journey. And one of the realizations I've come to in speaking with some of you is the thought of our own self-worth, the feelings of inner acceptance. And so what I've come to realize is that this has been a journey of my own inner acceptance. And part of that journey has been working with different coaches and a lot of the spiritual healers that we've had on here. I have I have done so much inner work on my own acceptance. And as I go through this transition of moving again, and really digging into with the coursework with Kimberly is that I'm realizing so many other feelings about what I'm really putting out there and who I want to serve if with you as the listener and in my own coaching practice, and really wanting to focus more on how do I build something that serves you as a listener, but also serves my own lifestyle currently, as well as the future that I'm building and calling in. I really love the law of attraction, really love the principles of what we put out there is what we bring in with that energy. And so when I falter with doing my twice a day meditations, or if I'm not taking my walks, or if I haven't done my meal prep to eat with what supports my body, I start to see shifts in my own energy and what comes forward to me. So I've had to pause and look at that within myself of how am I honoring myself? How am I stepping forward into who I am today and who I am becoming? And the self-care aspect of it always, always shows up, right? Like, do you find that to be true for yourself too? Do you find yourself questioning when you're not doing something for yourself? So I was going down to one meditation a day, most every day. I've been really consistent with that. And what I realized is that I really love to wake up in the morning and have my morning time to myself. And so today I did that. I did my meditation and I've been putting this thing on my eye. I have had really dry, super dry eyes. And I thought it was because of the LASIK surgery I had 4.5 years ago. But I have a new eye doctor. And what he advised me is that the the ducts in your eyes are blocked, and so I have this pad thing that I put on my eyes I heat up, and I put on my eyes for 20 minutes so that I can, have, the ducts, really kinda heal themselves and unblock, and so as I do that, I thought, "Wow, what a perfect way to start my day, do my meditation." And so that's what I did today, and I thought, I really wanna come on and just connect with everybody because I spend a majority of the episodes talking with these amazing guests, and man, do I have some recorded episodes for you. You are just gonna be just so in love with them like I am. I don't know if it's possible, but I feel like I get these like girl crushes on all these people. Like they're so amazing. And what I've realized is that when we're doing the episodes, it's in this really like wonderful channeled space. And when I go back and I listen to them later, I'm like, I didn't even know we talked about that. You guys ever have those experiences? What I've realized is that's actually in a channeled space. I didn't even realize it for myself, these connections that I feel with these women. Like, I feel so connected to their hearts and their message. And I bring this up because maybe you're trying to figure something out for yourself. Maybe you have decisions that you're looking at. And so I always go back to my bliss, the bliss of what I'm doing, how I'm showing up, which is what led me into talking about tenacity, right? Like, what is tenacity? I had to actually go look it up and I thought I'd just read that here. I pulled it up. And so tenacity, this is from the Merriam-Webster online dictionary. It says tenacity for a synonym is courage, mettle, spirit, resolution. Tenacity means mental or moral strength to resist opposition, danger, or hardship. Courage implies firmness of mind and will in the face of danger or extreme difficulty. And I think back over the last, say, year and a half, and I think, yeah, I think I have some tenacity in me to be able to persist through all of the changes. So if you're a new listener, and I don't think I really share too much of this in my recordings because I really like to highlight the gifts of others. And sometimes I might negate the life that's happening on the other side of the mic. So do you do this also? You go through challenges and you think, "Oh yeah, okay." And then the next one's coming because that's kind of like what this life experience is about. And then you realize that, wow, there's been a lot going on, you know? So I, went um about 10 months without any real source of income, was interviewing, was also doing my membership and my coaching. And I decided that I wanted to only focus on one thing, the one thing that brought me bliss, right? Like Maria Kondo talks about um, with going through our stuff, right? Like if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. And so it's not that it didn't bring me joy doing the membership and the coaching, but I was starting to feel into these feelings of overwhelmness. And so I had to go in within and look at what was actually lighting me up, and having the conversations with others and sharing others was so powerful. I also had, at that moment in time, I had the interview that we did with Robin Wynn, and we did my human design, which was a 4-6. And in looking through my emotional manifesting generator chart that we did on that episode, was that I almost gave myself permission to accept that I really like to highlight others more than myself. Now, I like to share my journey through the interviews with others. I'd like to have those conversations because I am so curious about others' journeys. I'm so curious about how they got to be where they are. Did they also struggle with accepting their spiritual gifts that they have? And I've noticed that there's this whole journey among all of us who have come out as healers or psychics or intuitives, or being a life coach, which is focused on helping others with a more spiritual aspect, where they intertwine that into just who they are. And doing this love and acceptance of ourselves is a really common thread. And Kimberly has really helped me with coming out and realizing that that is the message that I'm really talking about with Light Up Your Worth. Because I've noticed is that when we own who we are, when we accept who we are, does not mean that we are satisfied with the status quo, that we don't want to continually learn and challenge ourselves, which, as a lifelong learner, I mean, I just shared that I'm taking 2 courses right now, right? Like, I'm always studying, I'm always reading, I'm always curious. I'm always listening to others. I really have that mind. I used to first think about it as a flaw, right? Like I didn't feel like I knew enough. Why do I want to continually learn? And what I've realized is I am just generally curious. So I signed up for this course, Road Entrepreneur, because I have this dream of building out my podcast. I have a dream of building out a membership again, um, where I am able to also go out and travel and explore. And I'm really, really wanting to go out and explore the US. I also want to go to other destinations. Like Egypt is constantly coming up in my mind recently. I haven't been to Peru. There's a lot of places that I would love to see. But right now, I really want to get on the road and reach out and serve others, as well as go explore. I spent so many of my years, I'm 56, I've spent so many of my years trying to prove to myself that I was okay. Growing up in a working class, very diverse neighborhood out in East San Jose, California, in the States, was challenging in some ways, right? Like, so I always think of things as the flip side of the hand, right? What was super powerful is I met a huge diversity of people. I learned how to get along with people who were not like me, who did not, but who were all super good people. So I played sports. I was part of like Junior Achievement, Future Business Leaders of America. I was the volleyball captain, absolutely love volleyball, helped with soccer, played badminton. I was very active in student government. I think my senior year, I was student body secretary. And I think we had about 2,000 kids every year. So it's a fairly large school and in this town and the city really wasn't a town. And so, but it was still country like. So it would later go to become Silicon Valley and growing up. And so in that environment, there was always this push to do more, do more. But yet I had some very blue collar values growing up, right? Like there had nobody had gone to college. And the majority of people that I was going to school with, it was a very small majority that was going to go on to college. It just wasn't what we talked about when I graduated in 1984. It's very, very small. Now, my best friend was valedictorian. And so I was influenced and I took some higher level courses and could have gone on to school if I had really thought about that as my goal. But I think about those experiences and how it has shaped me and how you grew up really shapes us with our own belief systems and working through what do we really want. So how does this all tie into tenacity was that I didn't even realize that people could do things unlike where I grew up, right? Like you got married, you had kids, you bought a house, you went on vacations, and that was the extent of the life. And that's a really great life. But I found is that I always wanted something more, wanted something different for myself. And so this journey, this path of the self-acceptance has really been interplaying throughout my life and trying to come to terms with how does that serve me now? Am I too old to go after my dreams? Do you guys think that too sometimes? And I thought, no, I don't think we're ever too old. I mean, my grandmother, who we call Nanny, lived until she was in her 90s. And so I thought, I really have like 30 to 40 more years, hopefully, And so why can't I pursue what I really want? Why can't I have the courage to speak into what is driving me? What is driving me to not be so normal? Oh, I think I'm normal, but with the roles of being in a corporate role and being able to step up out as a solo entrepreneur and really leaning into that and just acknowledging our own successes and achievements for what they are, right? Like I graduated from with my bachelor's degree when I was 40. So I didn't go straight into school. I started to work and then I jumped into a corporate job. I think I worked at a finance place before. I did worked doing the clerical part of mortgages, and then I jumped into eventually got into tech and did sales and marketing, finance roles, and then I moved into the process improvement work that I'm doing now. But it's always been in these corporate environments where you're coming across, having to be perfect. And so you intersect being perfect in your work environment to your own insecurities that can come up are, the own low self-worth, which is reflected when I look back now at my long-term relationship. A lot of that and looking for my own accountability has to do with how I felt about myself, that I did not deserve to have certain things, that I didn't deserve to be loved, that I didn't deserve to be loved with who I was. and that I didn't believe that you had to have boundaries, that somebody should just naturally treat you better. What I've come to realize is that that really is a reflection of their bad behavior, was that I was accepting that bad behavior, and that that is what the self-acceptance, the self-worth, my own value, was being able to accept that. And so, um, the tenacity to keep going is what I did not realize, is that I did have courage. I did leave. Um, and that not everybody is one or the other, right? We're all dualities. You're a duality if you are working your job and learning new things about yourself. You're in duality as I do a spiritual based podcast, and then I go into healthcare to improve processes and try to streamline things and make them more efficient while developing people. There's a duality in you and what you're doing in your life. And how is that showing up for yourself? How is that showing up for yourself, right? Your own tenacity to keep moving forward, having the courage at any point in your life to pause and reflect back and to reach out for resources. You know, I've shared so many amazing people here. And I recently hired and made this investment in myself for a one on one coach. And she does energy. And at the end of this, I will probably share who she is. But right now, I want to keep it, to myself as we develop this greater relationship, and somebody I've been connected to for years. But it took me a minute to pull the trigger, as I like to say, to make that even bigger investment in. So as I record this, I'm actually in, a course, The Road Entrepreneur. I'm in a course to learn more about podcasting and how do I show up with that, as well as my one-on-one coach, as well as I'm moving. I've been working through with my dog, Lily, who's almost 10. And last year, if you've been following me, you heard about the loss of Blue. And I am super connected with my animals. I don't consider them pets. My fur babies are really my family. And as an empty nester, and an intuitive, I'm connected with them in a way that is might be hard to explain to others unless you are in that same connection with your animals. And so my little dog, Lily, is my like best friend. That's who I talk to every day. That's who I live with. And so this transition has brought up some stuff for her, and she's been struggling with her health, even though she's not quite 10. And so that's been this big change. It brings me back to the tenacity, the courage to keep stepping forward, even on the days where I feel a little overwhelmed, that we all have those days. And what I know to be true of how Oprah says is that I need to just take a deep breath, ground myself into who I know I am. So I welcome you and encourage you to remember who you are as a soul here on earth. And showing up for yourself is really what we're all here to do. We're here to help ourselves reflect and heal and grow and resolve past ancestral wounds, our own wounds, and acknowledge what we've been through and how we continually show up. And I hope every day that I'm able to show up with grace and love for you, love for myself, and acceptance of the path I've gone on. Maybe I'm a late bloomer with realizing these things, but here's the wonderful thing that's been part of my own self journey. And I hope it helps you, is that it doesn't matter when we realize these things. There's always time to acknowledge how far we've come and how far you want to go in building what you are building. And this inner acceptance is my life theme. This path of really creating more ease and leaning into who I am as a spiritual being and realizing that it's okay to have these big, big, big dreams, because walking towards those dreams is the process of growth. And there's so many amazing experiences that have come through this growth, through this constant level of change, this change of honoring ourselves, honoring who we are today. And so I would love to hear how this podcast is really helping you. I would love to hear your comments, because I'm really am focusing on how I can continue to make it better, bring on guests that really reside with you. And that is part of the journey that I am on, to really help and reach those who are seeking this knowledge for themselves, or trying to understand some of your own patterns. Maybe you haven't heard of what limiting beliefs are, our own paradigms that kind of stop us in our tracks. Or for myself, I know it shows up when I start to feel overwhelmed, right? Like my energy level drops. Um, and then I really struggle through moving forward. But I've, as a single parent, I pushed through those for so, so long. I went to school on the bachelor's, and I mentioned I graduated when I was 40. I went to school since I was like 22, part-time, until I graduated at 40. So that's when I say tenacity, right? Like, not that I didn't ever take a semester, but off to focus on my son, but I pretty much took a one class every semester, and that's what pushed me to continually grow and learn. And though I have this bachelor's of science in business management, it really isn't about the degree. It was about my own tenacity to complete something that I wasn't always encouraged to do. And so maybe you're working on something new. Like, I've been working on my podcast and growing and figuring out how I want to show up and serve others outside of the podcast. And know that we just we just keep moving forward. I used to want to always plan everything out years and years and years. And now what I've been doing is just taking the next step. So maybe that approach might work for you, is taking just the next step and create more ease. And so I'm learning to actually do more the self-care, right? Like, not pushing myself as hard, to allow time for rest, allow time for creativity, allow time for my meditation and my walks, and that I spend time to prepare what I would like to eat, what would I like to bring into my body that is going to support me moving forward. I just had some lab work done too, and I'm working with one of our guests here, and I don't think we've published, sorry, stumbling over my words, but with Janessa Finley, and she's helping me with my own labs and identifying, like my vitamin D levels and my B levels, and really coming up with a plan to help support my body with where it needs the support too. At this point in my life, being postmenopause, maybe that's TMI, but but it's just been such a huge thing with um, this excess weight that I've gained, that has to do with protectiveness. And I have released, I think 22 excess pounds of protective weight. And from a spiritual perspective, I know it was this more emotional protective weight. And so working with my body and understanding its own chemistries and hormones, it's just been this really big growth opportunity. And using some of the healers, I have used multiple healers on here to help me with some of those beliefs that are stuck in my body, like what we talk about with so many of the guests. So I've been working with Jamie Joe, who has helped me release some beliefs that were stuck in my body that have to do with the weight. So she's been part of that journey. I've been working with multiple coaches to help with the emotional eating and releasing shame around that. So I share all this because as I go to record this this theme of tenacity of to keep going through all of the change. Currently, the one stable factor in my life is you, my listeners here on Light Up Your Worth. As I've gone through this change in my big financial setbacks that I've had, and so I made another really big investment with a one-on-one coach to help me through a year of support to be able to keep my vibration up, to be able to go through those dips with the support. And I've had coaches since we've started this podcast, and for years and years, I've invested in coaches. And this coach is a little different because I'm allowing myself to step into even further with my own energetic vibration and keeping that high and higher as I call in and co-create more of this life with ease and leaning into my own worth, acknowledging my own achievements, accepting myself. So, if you've received any value from the podcast, and I hope you have, is that I would love to hear how I can support you. Do you enjoy solo episodes? Do you want to hear more about what's going on outside of me recording these? Or are you really loving the guest? Or would you like to have both? Would you like to have both? Um, I've been tossing it around if I want to be able to come on maybe every other week and do a little quick episode with you, just sharing what's going on with life, almost like the back end stuff, I would say. Or are you just really interested more in the longer episodes with my guest? I am totally open of trying, just like we did over the summer. With breaking up some of the episodes to make it easier to be able to digest. So, I ask that of you if you want to, send me an email or you want to write a comment. I would love to be able to hear you. But the email address is Debbie Light Up Your Worth at gmail.com. It's also Debbie at lightupyourworth.net. So you can actually use either one of those. And as I step into recording more energetic healing sessions, I'm going to be focused more on this inner acceptance, our own worth, of really creating ease. And so that's going to be coming too on the website once I am able to settle down into my new place and do that. So you can look for that as well. So thank you for being here, listening to me talk about tenacity, your own tenacity with where you are, and that acceptance of everything has really happened to lead you to this perfect place of where you are right now, today. And so I send you sunshine and love, and thank you for being part of this journey with myself, with my guest, and I can't wait for us to connect. So much love. Chat soon.